I'm going to get so much hate for this because I could be wrong, all right? But for what I see with Justinian, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody. For what I see is that this commander's skill, is it encouraging players to eventually lose more troops and eventually spending more to develop more troops? Ultimately, what is the goal for that? What is up, guys? Welcome back here to another Rise of Kingdoms content. Today, we're going to look into the brand new commander, which is Justinian I. Now, Justinian I is a Byzantine commander. Now, I was looking into the skills of the commander in here, and we've also done some battle testing on Garrison and as well as in open field. Now, before we get started, as I take a look into the overview of Justinian in here, what I kind of notice is that this commander is going to perform at the highest peak in a big spender kingdom in comparison to a like D seed kingdom or a C seed kingdom. This commander is very good at situational things. Like when the target is surrounded, you're going to get all these buff from the commander. I'm going to explain this a little bit more in detail as we move forward. This is definitely a very good commander in a high spending kingdom where players over there do not care about swarming structures and losing troops. May not be the best commander to use in a situation to where like many players are not going to swarm. Now, let's talk about Justinian's first skill. Now, the first skill of Justinian here, it says, deals direct damage to a target troop of a 2500 damage factor. Now, this is going to work in the open field, this part, the top part. Now, the second part of the skill, of the active skill, is not going to work in the open field. It is only going to work as a rally leader. If this commander is leader of a rally attack, the target's defense is reduced by 30%, which is a lot. Now, here's the kicker. This is very interesting. If the target is surrounded, it will add an additional 3 surrounding troop to the calculation of the buff. All right? But if it's not surrounded, it will be set to 3 calculations right away. Now, keep in mind, the target is not actually surrounded. It's just a calculation. Now, if you're wondering, what is a surround effect? Well, you can actually see this just by going into the campaign in the expedition. All right, so let's go in here and let's march our troops, and we're all gonna attack this, and you're gonna see a multiplier of 5. All right, so you're just gonna surround by 5 in here because I have 5 marches. All right, boom, surround. All damage taken have increased now to a multiplier of 5. So this is why I was mentioning that this is going to be a very effective tool for kingdoms that are heavy with whales, or kingdoms that have no fear of losing troops. Because if they start to swarm the target, right, you then will gain these 3 additional surrounding troops. So if you have these whales that can constantly deplete their troops, you'll definitely get this benefit. This is not going to be very effective in the D kingdoms or into the C kingdoms because most likely in those kingdoms, not a lot of them will be dedicated to swarming. I've been into kingdoms like 1412 with the Hawks, which is now in 1960. They are definitely one of the scarier players to go against with because they'll swarm anything that they want. You know, and basically even here in 891, we do a lot of swarming as well in here. So it does have a good effect for that type of scenario, just to mention this to you guys. But open field, you're only getting that 2500 damage factor, which is still pretty good damage. But in comparison to other heroes in here, when we look at, for example, when we look at, you know, let's just say Joan of Arc, right? You get 2000 damage factor, you're getting rage bonus, you're getting damage bonus also. And this is effective in the open field. So just keep that in mind. Let's go into the second skill. Cavalry units led by this commander will gain 30% cavalry defense bonus, which is good. When it's outside the alliance territory, the cavalry units will deal 5% more damage and gain 15% marching speed. This is a good passive buff, honestly. Now, when we look into the third skill, cavalry units led by this commander will gain 20% increased health, which is really good and very high. So this is the rally part. Their troops will take 10% less normal attack, which is also good, a little bit more beefiness in here. Now, keep that in mind that in the open field, only this top part will be effective. So the fourth skill here, passive skill. Cavalry units led by this commander will gain 10% cavalry attack bonus while on the map, which is good as well. Now, whenever their troop launches a normal attack while on the map, it has a 10% chance of dealing additional direct damage to the target troop. This is additional, okay? Now, it is a damage factor of 30. Actually, it's a damage factor of 80 multiplied by the number of troops surrounding the target up to the 5 troops. So just keep that in mind. Again, damage factor of 80, which is high, multiplied, right, by the number of troops surrounding the target up to 5 troops. So it can be multiplied by, for what I understand, up to 5 troops. So again, the scenario that this can be really good, once again, supports the theory that we have with the Light of Rome with this first skill. So for this fourth skill in here, this can be effective in the open field. All right, this can be very effective. It has some good, additional buff that we're going to see from the hero Justinian. Now, the last skill or the expertise skill here is going to enhance the Restless Emperor. So the Restless Emperor is going to be this. What it's going to do is that with expertise, you can see that it will be 15% increased attack while on the map, and then you can have a 30% chance of dealing a direct damage factor to the target troop with a 100x, right? That's pretty high for surrounding the target up to 5 troops. So this plays a good opportunity for the cavalry players. But the question really in here is that with the skills that they made for the Justinian commander, is it really what I'm thinking right now, and people might hate me for saying this, and I might really get some hate for this, is the skill encouraging players to swarm structures and ultimately have more deaths, ultimately spend more on bundles, ultimately, costing more at the end of the day. This skill encourages that for what I see. I could be wrong. It might not be just me, it might just be me, I don't know. Do you guys see what I'm seeing though? I'm not so sure. Please let me know in the comments section for this. Now let's take a look into the battle testing in the simulation. That's not gonna be surrounded or anything. Everything is just gonna be base. One more thing to note is that in the simulator, we are going to see that, there is no equipment that I put in there, no armaments, of course. It's just gonna be raw. So here's our battle simulator testing. Just keep in mind that this is not simulating any surrounding effect as well. So we're not maximizing some of the skills. For example, we're only maximizing the base skill for this one whenever, there is no surrounding, because it is going to be multiplied by 3 only. We're not also, getting the whole benefit of this as well, because we're not getting that multiplier as well for this, as you can see. So just keep that in mind as we look into this battle report. So the first battle report in here, we have Alexander Nevsky, Justinian going against Zenobia and Flavius. It is a loss. There is no gear or armaments involved into this simulation, as far as I know with my testing. We tested now again with Alexander Nevsky, Justinian again, going against Zenobia and Heraclius. So this one is Flavius. This one was Heraclius. What we can see is pretty much similar report in here. Now we changed the primary commander into Hua. We can see that the severely wounded in here is less in comparison to having Alexander Nevsky. We did also change the civilization in here to Arabia, so that could have had more impact as well for the buff. just a little bit. Now let's take a look into the next one in here. Alexander Nevsky, Justinian going against Dido and Heraclius. We can see that, you know, definitely defeat the archer. Now this one is going to be open field. We test with Alexander Nevsky, Justinian versus Guan Yu and Scipio, 1-on-1. Lost in here. Again, we're not seeing the full effect of the surrounding feature as well. But when you do surrounding, that's going to be a whole clash. So you just use these template as a guidance of what it can potentially perform, but cannot really do a whole scenario with the the battle testing that we're doing with the simulation, because it's not going to be 100% true to what you're going to see in the battlefield. A lot of variables can happen in the battlefield. When we face Alexander Nevsky and Justinian going against Boudica and Zhuge Liang, you can see that Justinian with Alexander here lost. So just take this battle simulator as a grain of salt. It's good to kind of look into this. It's good to use as a test tool as well, because we're not going to, spend any resources to do some testings in here. I find this testing very useful within, the features within Rise of Kingdoms. Now, if you guys want to download the RK simulator, there is a link. It only costs about $1 to support the creator of it. So, go into the Patreon and apply for it, and then donate to that, and then be part of the Patreon and get the RK simulator, support the guy. Anyway, with that being said, guys, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys again next time.